Hello, hello, hello. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd of June. Yesterday was the first day of summer. Today it's sunshiny here and looks like we might be, hopefully running into some summer. We've had very little, so let's keep our fingers crossed. And where am I? I'm in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. So looking forward to some sun and some fun. Anyway, I am jumping online today to do a short conversation with respect to Illuminate, Unleash Your Inner Leadership Brilliance, which is a program that I run for those looking to really, um, sorry, just got something that flashed across my scene. Um, those that really want to step up their game in their leadership, but leadership from the perspective of who you be as a leader, and that who you be, which is how are you showing up in your humanity, is what informs your leadership. So we can read tons of books, which we all do. We can be very knowledgeable, and we cannot change a thing. And so the work that I've done over the last 3 years is really looking at my own way of being in leadership. And then I am taking that work and bringing that into the work that I've created in Illuminate. So yesterday, I just completed my fifth cohort of folks really stepping into their leadership to impact their lives and their work environments in a way that they hadn't really practiced in the past or even thought about. I was so excited yesterday because this last cohort was consisted of five young women who are all brilliant, really brilliant, capable, um, strong-willed, knowledgeable, powerhouses in their own right. And a couple of them, really said up front they just don't see themselves as leaders. Like they've attributed that title to what we do in society, which is leadership is a role. And this is not the work we are doing. The work we do in Illuminate is that you are the leader of your life, whether that be personally or professionally, and you are accountable for the creation of your life, whether that be personal life or your professional life, and really taking ownership of the power that we have as individuals, not living and leading our lives from the place of victimization or, at the effect of the environment around us. And many folks who are in middle leadership or just starting out their leadership journey in their careers, they see themselves as disempowered because of where they sit in the hierarchy or in a structure and what kind of authority they have in relation to their jobs. So if they're not really making decisions or they don't see themselves as decision makers in that capacity, they don't see themselves as leaders. And when we were doing our closing comments yesterday, one of the young women in this group, who I just think is super talented and gifted, she really said that she got that she was the leader of her life and that she was responsible for her career. No one else was going to create that for her or give that to her. Yes, people will support us. Yes, people will help us. I had lots of help along the way. Bottom line, I had to do the work. I had to do the hard work at looking at myself, really recognizing where I didn't show up in my power. What was my power? What was my magic? What, was I doing in the way in which I treated other people? And how was I showing up when I wasn't treated well by other people? And all those experiences are real in an organization. And so um, this work really helps us see ourselves and our own blind spots. And, you know, people say, yeah, I know I'm good at receiving feedback or I'm good at giving feedback. And I'll say, well, what is your relationship with feedback yourself? And they look at me like I'm crazy because they've never thought about how their relationship, their personal experience and relationship with feedback um, determines their ability to receive feedback and even receive positive feedback. Like one of the participants in this last cohort, she said, we talk about feedback and we always talk about the critical aspect of it. So being able to be with feedback that doesn't feel good or doesn't land well or makes us feel incompetent, or we take it on to mean that we're incompetent. And she said, because we were talking about receiving compliments, um, wholly and fully, and taking in when other people give us compliments, because oftentimes people will say, I don't believe them. They're just being nice. And, um, to really look at when people give you positive feedback and compliments, that to actually dismiss it is to dismiss them and their willingness to give you kind feedback. And oftentimes people say, well, I ask for feedback and I don't get any because they're looking for the negative. So, feedback, we have a relationship with our ability to receive positive and negative feedback, and that in turn affects how we are in our ability to give positive or negative feedback. So that's an example where, we do a good piece of work in this program so that people really can stand in their own leadership when receiving and when giving feedback. So that's a piece we really look at. How are you showing up in your leader self versus your social self? So, what does that even mean? Many of us, all of us are socialized in society to get along with people to some degree. Some people have more trouble with that than others, but um, when we are in our leadership and we're making decisions based on being liked by other people, or um, not wanting other people to be annoyed because it's not going to serve them, but we actually are making decisions for the greater good of the organization, or because we actually have information as leaders that other people may not have access to. So we know where we're going and why a certain decision needs to be made. And we're willing to do that even at the risk of other people being annoyed with us, but knowing that in integrity, it's the correct thing to do. That is, a willingness to operate and lead from our leader self versus our social self. So if I'm really uncomfortable making a decision because, or, making a decision that is going to be perceived as perhaps not what other people want, but I'm willing to do that, then I'm willing to stand in my leader self. If I'm not willing to do what's uncomfortable, I'm probably making a decision more from my social self. And to really understand that distinction for yourself is empowering as a leader, because we oftentimes don't make the right decisions because we want to fit in. And standing alone in the wilderness, as Brene Brown says, is not necessarily a comfortable place to be, but often what is required in leadership. And I always say to people, we don't have to do it with, hard emotion or anything, but the more we can provide others with facts, the more we can stand in our own integrity and, choose knowing what is the right thing to do in a certain situation, the more we are actually empowered in our leadership, and other people will have the respect that we want as a human. Working with one young woman, and one of the things she's really challenged with is feeling, moved up into a more senior role and wanting to be respected. And, through this work, really landed in a place where she could see that she didn't trust her own leadership and wasn't respecting her own ability to lead effectively, and was really projecting her own fears and insecurities out onto others as them not having respect for her. And so just, her willingness to practice showing up differently in her leadership really, I could see such a growth in her over the 4 months that we worked together, and to be able to ask for things she wanted. And when she came into this work 4 months ago, one of the things that was most important to her was she just wanted to build confidence. And one of the things I always say to my people is, confidence is a result. You must do something different and step into what is uncomfortable, which takes courage, in order to build your confidence. If you're not willing to do something different, your confidence level won't change. And people will argue with me. That's okay. That is what I know to be true in my own life. That is what I know to be true in my own leadership development. And that is what I know to be true as a coach in working with other people. We can want lots of things, and we talk about wanting versus choosing in this work. We can want lots of things, but if we're not willing to actually be messy in our leadership, which means to try different ways of being as a leader, nothing will change. I had a young woman one time say to me, she was going to practice something different with her team. And then she came back to me and said, yeah, I was really uncomfortable. So I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, I get that. Totally get that. Being uncomfortable is uncomfortable. But the bottom line is, if we're not willing to step out and lead differently, nothing changes. And um, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that this is where the big definite results come from, is willingness to show up and practice leading differently. And this is the work that we do in Illuminate. And I love this program. It's my baby, as I tell people, because it brings into the lives of those I work with to own their leadership, to own their person, to own their lives, to recognize um, that everything is not outside of ourselves. It's actually all within. And that's where the shift comes from. I was just talking to a colleague of mine before jumping online here, and she's been in the same work with me for the past 3 years. And she was talking about just the exciting changes that she's seen in how she's showing up in her life. And that's the work that coaches who are really committed to growth do. They do the work themselves, and then through that experience, we are able to bring that to our clients and enable them to experience the same or similar growth. Um, that's the magic. Not getting my certificate. It's the work that I do on myself constantly and consistently that enables me to grow, which therefore enables me to bring this to my clients. And this is what Illuminate is for me. It is a culmination of all the work that I've done in leadership development over the course of my life, and really enables me to support those that are interested in doing this kind of transformational leadership development. It enables me to really serve them, to serve themselves. And as a result of really serving themselves, they then take that back into their organizations and can lead more impactfully and more powerfully. So, if this is the kind of work that you think might be of interest to you, I invite you to connect with me on Facebook. You can find me at Heather Beaton Coaching on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Heather Beaton. And send me a note, and we'll have a conversation to see if this is something that is a fit for you, something that you think would serve you. Love to hear from you if this is something you think um, will really create a shift in your life, both personally and professionally, because we're not different. We're not two different people. We are who we are, and we bring that to our work, and we bring it home. And yes, there's small nuances and differences in how we show up in our public self, but the core of how we're leading will show up in all aspects of our life. So if you're interested in looking at that, and from there doing some work to move you where you want to go in your career or in your life, I invite you to connect with me. Take care.